This is our town.
Welcome.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 215 of ValueTown. I'm ChanmanV, and I'm joined today by Tom Matthieison from Inven Global, Mr. Writer,
That's
journalist,
right.
all that good stuff. You've read his articles, I'm sure. He writes some great articles, summing up all the changes and everything.
I've written some great articles.
Some great.
Thanks, Chris.
Well, you know, like journalists these days, man, they never get any love. So if people even have read your articles or know who you are, you're like way beyond the curve, like at this point.
I hope so. I just hope people appreciate my input, or at least that it causes some debate, right? That's what you want, people to discuss the topic. So
yeah, for sure. We know we love those. We love those kind of leaks too, as well. You know, those are good. Especially when you're right. You know, we definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, I can't say I felt it felt bad being right about all the players and format. You know.
Yeah.
But we move on, right? That's just how it goes.
It's just your job as a journalist is to do these type of things. So it's good. But we got lots to talk about today. We got my goodness, man. I was just thinking we were talking adventure and we talked GM for first week or two, but now we've got a huge announcement with the buffs for the very first time in Hearthstone history.
Yeah.
Crazy.
In 24 hours, we got huge announcements.
Yeah.
It was insane, dude.
Yeah, so we're going to be going through that as well. Just all the cards. There were a lot of cards that got changed. It wasn't even just like a few like they do when they do Nerfs. They first time buffing, they went through a good number of them. So we'll go through that. There's a new card too, obviously, and then we'll touch on Q&A at the end as well. If you have any questions, save them for if you're in Twitch chat. You can also tweet them if you want to ValueTownGG, or even email them if you want, valuetown@chanmanv.tv. We'll be sure to read them out. But this week, just kind of starting off as we always do. Anything cool you did this week in terms of Hearthstone, Tom? Like, what have you been up to? Like playing Adventure, or what you been doing?
Yeah, I have been playing the Adventure. I'm sure we're gonna get to it, but the team said it was replayable, and man, I had underestimated how much I craved completing every check in every class and unlocking every deck. So yeah, they did a good job, man. So that's what I've been up to. I haven't had much time last week to play much of the Adventure yet, but whenever I had a chance just to sneak in a couple of games or even a couple of turns, because the great thing is it saves exactly the turn you're at, even if you log out completely. Which previously I maybe kind of cheesed to resetting a boss in other adventures if I was losing.
Nice. I never actually did that. That's funny.
Yeah. So no, that's not a possibility anymore. So I've had some fun. Obviously, now that Nerfs went live today and tomorrow, my schedule is a little bit less busy than it is today. So I plan on experimenting again with the decks.
Yeah.
Do you play more decks recently, or?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's in terms of Hearthstone, that's mostly all I did too, was just play the Adventure, and I did get like a sneak preview of the Adventure before, so I kind of knew it was replayable, at least the part that I got previewed for. So I was kind of expecting this, but it's been even more fun getting a chance to drive. Instead of watching everybody play like we saw with the showdown and everything, it's been really, really fun getting a chance to just seeing all these new cards and abilities that they give us too, and when you're not playing heroic, it's actually crazy easy. I mean, just like you could do just enormous plays and stuff like that. But we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But it's been good though. It's definitely been great.
By the way, I want to ask: did you watch that preview of the Okay, you did.
Yeah.
I was, and I saw a couple of other people. Obviously, for some people, it's very much fun to watch your favorite streamers play the Adventure, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was kind of on the fence about it because what I like about Adventures is exploring the story and seeing something new and being thrown off by the bosses and what they do. right? So I didn't watch it, but I can see why they would host it for the people who like it, right?
Yeah, to be honest, I was more critical of it too. Like when they first announced it, I even kind of knew what the adventure was, but still, I felt like, I want to see it for the first time with everybody, at the same time. But when I watched it, to be honest, like I didn't pay attention to the cards themselves. Like I really paid more attention to just the general, game within the, like they had this whole competitive game thing that was set up, like who can get the most points by finishing the most bosses and things like that. So that element of it was pretty fun and entertaining, and that was the part that I was paying a little bit more attention to was just how they were doing it. Like at one point,
was there something with the score in the end or something?
Yeah, it was. Well, so how it would work is they would be given X number of points if they finished a wing. Like both of the there's like partners. There's like Trump and Crip and Regis and Toast and Ali Salissa and then Firebat and Pathra. And so together, you would have to finish a wing to get credit for a wing, but you get X number of points if you did that. And then there would be like a bonus, some kind of challenge that you'd have to do. And you would get like these extra points if you were adhering to the challenge and still finish the wing.
I see.
Those things were fun. It was like Kibler gets to pick whatever your treasures are, or one of them was like, you can only have 2 cards on the board at one time or something, like 4 cards on the board at one time.
Oh man.
Yeah, some of them were super hard. One of them was finish it in 40 minutes or something like that, which was
the entire what were they
both
playing?
of them finishing the wing. That you know what? I was thinking about that when I was doing Heroic the other day. I was like, were they playing easy? They had to have been playing. Well, Heroic's hard, man. Like I've been having a hard time with Heroic, so I can't imagine them finishing it so easily. But maybe it was. I don't know.
I started playing a Heroic run today, and I thought, just because what you said earlier is true, right? The normal wing itself, easy. You can just do some crazy stuff, and for example, there's this one boss that if you deal an X amount of damage, he takes off on a griffin or something.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I just thought, okay, so I have a hyena. I'll just buff him until he deals immediate lethal damage, and then he won't do that. Yeah, that's not gonna work in Heroic, I think.
Yeah, we might as well just talk about the wing at this point. I mean, it kind of transitions really well into it. So
yeah, sure.
Let's talk about the wing. Yeah, just to kind of update people on the wing itself. So the first 2 wings are available right now. So you get the first wing for free, and then the second wing is 700 gold, or you can purchase it for $7 or USD. Or you can purchase the whole thing for $20, which I would heavily encourage you to do, just because it's the best deal, just to buy it for cash.
Yeah.
But the first 2 wings are, I believe, it's the bank, right? It's like the Dalaran
Bank. Yeah.
The Dalaran Bank, and then it's the Violet
Hold. Yeah.
Violet Hold, right. And the Dalaran Bank's pretty fun. I mean, it's basically everybody starts with the 0-3 on the board, this cash or whatever, and when you kill the 0-3, you get 2 coins. Or both players get 2 points. Yeah. So makes it really easy, like when you get some crazy good drops or whatever it is. Yeah. And then the Violet Hold, there's each person gets a minion that takes X number of turns to unlock. Like he just becomes like a seed or something like that. So those have been pretty cool, and just the whole theme of it I think has been fun. So how it works, guys, is it's very much like Dungeon Run. Like you fight 8 bosses, try to complete it. The cool thing is you get to choose your class in the beginning, and the classes themselves have hero powers that you can unlock. So the first one is like the standard hero power, but then if you play enough times, you can unlock enough times with the class. You unlock these extra 2 hero powers, which can be pretty different, and some of them powerful. The first week is Shaman, Hunter, and Mage, I believe. So you can play those 3 right now.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten a chance to get to too many of the starting decks. So you can also unlock starting decks as well. So I've only gotten to like the second hero power in the second deck. I haven't been able to get to the third one yet.
Okay.
So what are those like? Yeah. Have you gotten to all of them?
Yeah, I've unlocked everything. Yeah.
Oh, so okay,
I've
cool.
Yeah. I thought no. I as I told you at the beginning, like if there's things that I have not unlocked yet, then I just cannot rest until I have them. That's how I pulled when we had the Knights of the Frozen Throne one. I did not rest mentally until I had defeated the Lich King on heroic and gotten Khadgar, no, not Khadgar, the Arthas hero skin.
Yep. That took
Yeah,
a while.
I did not rest.
Yeah, that's
I just played for 2 days almost straight, and because I needed to get that hero skin. It's not as much of I'm not grinding as much now because I also got work to do now.
Yeah.
So I was in my
Crazy how
summer
life
holidays
works.
then. Yeah, I was in my summer holidays then, so I could afford it. But no, now it's So I've grinded every deck. I've not played with every deck yet, but just making sure that I have the possibility to play them. And then I started heroic.
Yeah.
And you have to unlock them again.
Right.
I was like, no, Blizz, why?
Yeah.
Why do?
That's one part where I was like, I'm not sure I like that, but they want you to play this as much as possible, right?
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure I'll have a few more months left of grinding before I have everything unlocked on heroic as well, because heroic's difficult, man.
Yeah.
It's difficult. But what I want to say about the adventure is that initially I was kind of hesitant about, I'm not sure if a separate launch from the card set is because it's quite far apart, far from basically. It took a long time, because usually when there's an expansion, the adventure helps setting the theme, and you get a good feel of like, so this card in the expansion fits in the universe of the adventure in that way, right?
Right.
And now I thought I was kind of hesitant, like, is this gonna be like as if it's two different things? But the way the adventure has been executed is so well done. Well, like a small thing is like what you said, like in the how in the Violet Bank you have the 0-3 chest on the board, and in the Violet Hold you have the Dalaran Bank and the Violet Hold. You have this just small token that after a couple of turns just breaks free from its cell and and enters the board and is ready to fight. I think those small things just help set the team so well. I'm really impressed by this adventure, man.
Yeah, totally. And I think that again the replayability is great. There's obviously there's a heroic and thinking from a standpoint of content makers and streamers, right? Like there's that element to it, but there's also this gosh, I'm having a brain fart in terms of what it's called, but there's this mode where it's like random, right? Like you choose like this random generated deck that can have like junk in it. I mean, it could have great stuff and junk in it. And so you can what's it called? I forget what the mode's called. It's like this little cool symbol thing that you press.
Don't you have you have the overview on your screen, right? Isn't it somewhere there?
I don't think I see it here. Yeah. So, anyways, there's this mode that is really interesting for streamers because it's like it just creates a different challenge for them to finish. Because obviously a lot of people get super good and the heroics are end up being not that challenging. But overall, I think the value is pretty good too. In the end, you're going to end up getting, if you do everything right, you get 15 packs. You get a golden classic pack, which means everything in it is golden. And then you get Zale, which is this legendary card that's kind of it gives you a ton of pre-made decks, but the decks are good. The decks are pretty. I mean, they're not the best you can make, but they're pretty good, and they have a lot of cards that people might not have. And you get 2 card backs, and then you get obviously the Venture. So pretty good value. It's decent value.
I cheated a bit. It's anomaly mode.
Oh, anomaly. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I just silent Googled the name of it.
Thank you.
Yeah. No worries, man. I drew a blank as well. I haven't played it yet, anomaly mode, but
I haven't either.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably get to it because just to try it out, right? But
for sure.
No, the adventure has been great, and as you said, like the Zale, just giving players a free golden legendary akin to Whizbang. It's just a fun way of helping the players and just giving something to them, and I like it. I like it a lot.
I mean, one little thing that I love about it too, and it's not like the effects of it are that huge. I guess sometimes it is, but the whole Tavern, the Tavern showdown thing is like it's so cool. And for those of you wondering what that is, so how in between each of the rounds of Dungeon Run or just the adventure modes, are like Dungeon Run and Witch Hunt and all that stuff. you get to choose your cards, right? Like one round you'll get to actually choose a set of 3 cards. One round you'll get to choose this like new ability, you know, this new aura ability or whatever. And then now they've added one of the rounds, or 2 of the rounds, sorry, 2 of the rounds where you get to go into a tavern, you know, and then there's the, you know, the Bob, exactly.
Bob the bartender.
Bob the bartender, who basically, I mean, the concept is like you have these coins, and the coins are like cards that actually do stuff. You know, they can like reshuffle there's minions on the board too. So there's minions on Bob's side, there's minions on your side. The minions on Bob's side are like your enemy minions. And then the minions on your side are actually cards from your deck. And so you get these coins, and they're not coins like the coins you have in the game. They're coins that actually do stuff. Like they have text.
Yeah, as if they're cards, right? Like spells, basically.
Yeah, they're basically spells. And instead of mana, it's like coins, right? So you can spend this amount of mana, and you can do nothing if you want, but you can do things like, I mean, the whole point of this whole thing is to manipulate, you know, your deck or help you in some way, or so they'll have like a list of 4 cards. You can like buff a card just for the next turn. You can you can do things like copy a bunch of them into your deck. God, what are some of the other cool things that you can do?
You can reduce the cost of a spell, random spell by 3,
oh
or
my God, that's a really good one too. Yeah. And,
or just give a minion +4/+4, and it costs 2 more this run or something.
Right. I've never used that one actually. I haven't really found a good.
I did on, what was it? A Totem Golem, I think. So I had a 4 mana of, 7/8 or something, which was pretty okay, you know.
Yeah, pretty okay. Yeah, that's an understatement. You can copy one of your enemies' cards too and put it in your deck. And there's a reroll too. There's a coin that rerolls everything as well. So it's really, you know, it's just like a little thing, but it's cool.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's really nice. It's like, because I don't know if you've played Slay the Spire, it's one of those deck building games where in between you would have options to, you know, revisit your deck. And for a certain amount of money, just swap in cards and remove cards from your deck. And that's something I think many players indeed felt that Hearthstone adventures like Dungeon Run, Rumble Run, Witch Hunt and stuff were very cool, that you could build your own deck. But sometimes you would be given a choice of a bunch of cards, and 2 of those cards would be really amazing in your deck. And 1 card would just absolutely be garbage. And then you would like, but now, if I draw this card, my win rate of this theoretically very good deck goes down so much, and I cannot do anything about it. And this just gives you a chance to alter your deck, and just it's a skill testing feature, right? To see okay, what's my deck trying to do, and which of these cards can help improve it. And
it's more important in heroic, you know, like. The ones where you have the margin of error is very, very small. So like getting, you know, an extra buff on one of your minions can be super huge, you know. And so I think there is a level, there's definitely a skill ceiling to this thing as well, you know, just figuring out what the right thing to do.
Definitely.
So you get to do that 2 times in a run. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I actually encountered a bug. I have not tweeted it at the Hearthstone team yet, or submitted it on a forum. I don't know the link to the forum for that, where you can submit bugs about this. But so you have this card, the one when you're at Bartender Bob, right? Where you can give a minion +2/+2 for 1 gold, right? For the rest of the run. I put it on, what's this guy called? The 5 mana 2/2 that summons 2 copies of itself. You know, the one who was played in Evolved Shaman.
5/2 that copies itself. Oh, you're talking about Doppelganger? Yeah, Doppelgangster.
Doppelgangster,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
So if you buff him with that coin, the duplicates are not buffed, while the card specifically say, so that's, I think,
because it should copy the card
I felt
itself,
cheated.
Right?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't say create 2 Doppelgangsters, right?
No. It was because it was specifically created with the hand buff mechanic, right, in Mean Street. So. That's a small bug. So I played it, but it wasn't heroic, so it didn't matter, you know. But
no, they've been fixing bugs, I think, just constantly.
There
was a lot of
good,
bugs
right?
during the
there's so much content. There's gonna be bugs, right? So
no, I can forgive them for this.
Same, but obviously, same. It's but the adventure is really good, and I'm very anxious, very excited to see what what the next weeks are going to be, right? What
Yeah.
the story, how the story is going to unfold, and then even already fantasizing how this story is going to transition into next expansion and the one after. Yeah,
It's got to be good guys probably next time, right? Like something to do with the
no
good
idea,
guys.
no idea.
Yeah. Oh, so in terms of the auras, and all those cool new abilities, I mean, some of them are really powerful. I don't even know if I've gotten a chance to try them, like actually pick them all. But what are some of the ones you find yourself picking a lot?
I love the scheme that just says deal 1 damage, summon a boom bot, draw a card, and then upgrades every turn and gain as much armor, which is basically ultimate infestation.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. I don't know, ever since I think it was in the first one, the Kobolds and Catacombs dungeon run, that everybody discovered just giving your minions stealth is extremely good.
Yeah.
Because the enemy always has tricks to interact with your board, but if everybody stealth, have no way of doing that, and you decide how the trades go. That's that's one thing I really like still, because I think that's also I don't know, it to me, it doesn't make the game easier if all of your minions have stealth, because all of a sudden the opponent's minions are bound to go to your face, and you're playing with your life total plus a serious resource. So I like that one a lot. Is there one you favor a lot?
I mean, in terms of the treasure, I mean, I remember there was, so there's one where you like draw 3 cards, like the aura, the one where you draw 2 extra cards.
Oh yeah.
And then there's the one where your card on the leftmost side of your hand is reduced by 3 mana or something, or 2 mana. Dude, that is so fun. Like, you literally play your entire hand like almost every turn until you run into like an 8-drop or something like that. That is like so crazy fun.
Damn.
Yeah, that one I tend to like. I mean, so granted, the one where you draw 2, that one sucks if you don't get the one that gives you a discount on mana, because you just end up burning cards, like a ton of cards. You'd be surprised after 3 turns.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, that one's.
Oh
fun.
yeah, I picked the double draw, the 2 extra draw once, and my hand was already at 10, and then I burned Ragnaros, Frostless Jaina, and I was like, no, not like this, not like that was my entire top curve. I was like, no.
Yeah. The one where you start with a weapon is pretty good too, and it gets
is
plus
it?
1 plus
Okay.
1. Yeah, it's worked out pretty well for me too. Just having that tempo super early on. So, yeah, that one's been pretty good.
Have you picked replace your starting hero power with a random Death Knight one?
I picked it one time. Yeah, I got Frostless Janus, so that was pretty good.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, we could get some.
I think the first few times I got it, I got like Endwin 2 times in a row, which isn't really what you're trying to do, right?
Really. No.
And then I got Valera, which is also not really like, you're not playing echo cards. It's not something you're really trying to do usually, right?
It's okay. But yeah. I mean, it's not good until later, right?
Yeah.
So
I think Gul'dans is one of the better ones, because just he'll deal and heal. So yeah, like that was really good.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean the Frostless Jaina one's good, especially early on, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You get like a 3/6 like right from the start. It's like super good. So lots of really powerful abilities and treasures and things like that. So highly encourage you to play the adventure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things too. It's just like we should enjoy Hearthstone in this way instead of just playing it super competitive all the time. Like getting a chance to play adventure and seeing the breadth of what Hearthstone the platforming game can be, right, is really nice.
I think also the thing is like because up until like a few weeks ago I was still playing dungeon runs and witch hunts, and I was still playing those modes, and with this one, like every wing is a separate dungeon run mode basically. So and with different challenges and stuff. So I think it's very well done, very smart, and I do not mind them charging $20 for it at all in any way. It's like there's so much content in there. I definitely agree with there being a price tag on it this time.
I mean, there's a ton of content, and on top of that, you pretty much get 20.
Yeah, you get,
I forget what the calculation is. It's $28.
you get like 15 card packs or something,
Yeah,
and
I
you
mean,
get a yeah.
It's worth over $20. So
Mhm.
the value, they're giving you free content basically.
Yeah.
Like you're buying these packs and you're doing that, and you basically get a large amount of free content. This is how
Yeah.
I think people should think about it, instead of just like, oh, it's $20 for
Yeah.
this content. It's like, no, it's
If you compare, especially if you compare to previous adventures, right, which were also $20,
yeah.
and you compare to this one, you're like, well, yeah, this is like 2 or 3 of those adventures in one. It's really good.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Okay, well, kind of moving on. Before we do, I just want to remind or let folks know that this episode is sponsored by ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter is the #1 job hiring site right now in the U.S. And I've used it many times recently, just trying to find engineers just for some of the stuff I've been doing, with Bishopcore and whatnot. And it's been amazing. I mean, you just get tons of email. I mean, you get immediately emails from a bunch of candidates like the moment you even post a job. So ZipRecruiter sends your job to over like 100 different job boards, and they don't stop there. They aggregate it all for you, so you can just go to one place, and you're able to access all of these different candidates, and they just pick the best ones for you too. They recommend it. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter, they get quality candidates within the first day. So anyways, everybody right now in Valuetown, you can use it for free. If you go to ZipRecruiter.com/Valuetown, just type that in and sign up. It'll definitely allow you to use it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Valuetown. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. All right, so big news. Yesterday, they announced the first buffs in the history of Hearthstone. Like literally, I had given up. Just never thought that they would ever buff cards, because it was just like some cardinal principle that they had, like on the team, that they would never buff cards. And they they changed. I mean, they completely changed. I mean, first things first is they announced a brand new card, a brand new legendary that they're going to be giving as part of this new Rise of the Mech event. That's between June 3rd and June 1st. So really, really cool. This is a pretty good card too. It's like a 3-mana 2/3 mech.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
Magnetic Echo, Death Rattle Summon 2 1/1 Microbots. And you were telling me about this like total abusive combo that people had already figured out with Priest.
Yep. Yeah. So basically, you just have to stick any mech on the board, and then have 5 mana, and then you have this card in your hand. Because what you do then, let me look up the name of the card exactly, because I forgot the priest card. What is it? So you have 5 mana, and there's a mech on your board. You play Reckless Experimenter, which is the 5 mana 4/6 in priest, with the effect that Death Rattle minions you play this turn cost 3 less, but they die at the end of your turn, right? So it was used in a Mechathune combo in Priest, for example.
Right.
And so you play this card, then your Snip Snap costs 0.
It's free.
It's free.
It's infinite.
And it has Echo, and you
infinite.
just play infinite Snip Snaps on the mech you stuck on board, and then you jam it face for infinite damage. And that's an OTK. Priest can pull off on...
too.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's a card called Coppertail Imposter, which is a 4-mana 4/4 that has stealth until your next turn, so your opponent cannot interact with it except maybe put a taunt in a way. But Priest have silence or whatever. So it's I
kind of broken.
Really,
Broken.
I really hope they revisit this card a bit before they actually publish it on the 3rd of June, because this I think. If they leave it up and they think they do not think it's much of a threat in the current meta, I don't know, man. It's just too much of a risk. And in wild, any class can put it off with Mech Warper. So you play 2 Mech Warpers, and then you Zola one, you play another one, and then you go off, right? So
do the Death Rattle stack? They do, right? Like, so if you put 3 Snip Snaps on a 1-drop, you're going to get 6 Microbots when it dies, right?
Yep.
That's incredible.
That's how it works.
I mean, Omega Assembly and Dr. Boom gets a buff with this, as well as these cards we're about to talk about. But this buffs that as well. This is crazy good.
It's a crazy, but I love the effect. Actually, I'd been dabbling with an article concept in my head for a while that was discussing like the Archmage Vargoth card, right? When we got it, I was like, yeah, I was drafting a concept in my head about how Blizzard should do this more often, because for a short time the meta was just insane and it shook up the meta so much, and then then you just published this and I was like, okay, well, bye article, and they're doing this now, and okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why you got to release it, dude. Like the moment you like get that inspiration, you got to hurry up and get it out.
I guess, right? I guess, yeah.
Things lose relevancy so fast.
Yeah,
man.
but the problem is that most of my ideas are like around this time, when it's in my time, since I'm from the Netherlands, it's like 11:15 p.m.
Right.
So I'm not too keen on jumping behind my PC anymore to write an article, rather just play some games.
True. Okay, so the new card, this is like the start of it. But then they get into just the card changes, and people are saying buff, like in the chat right now, buffs are questionable or whatever. We're talking buffs like in a very very like traditional sense, where you're just like making a card better very very explicitly. And the classic case is lowering mana, raising stats, that sort of thing. Okay,
and it's not just we're buffing a couple of neutral cards. No. Blizzard just said, hey, we're buffing 18 cards.
18, yeah, which is pretty wild.
That's insane, dude.
Yeah. So I mean they split them up kind of like in different classes. Like Tom just said. I mean, it ranges from all kind, like legendaries to common cards, whatever it is. And so I think they chose some very interesting cards to change, which it kind of makes me think that they had some different decks in mind. First one, Gloop Slayer, goes from an 8 mana 4/4 to a 7 mana 4/4, and this is a card that summons a copy of each adjacent minions. Which when it first came out, I was like, oh wow, that's a pretty powerful mechanic. But it's just too expensive, right? 7 mana is definitely puts it in the realm of very, very, something to consider if you can get some kind of mid-range druid going, right? And maybe that's what they're trying to promote, right? A mid-range druid of some sort.
Yeah, kind of, maybe. Yeah. When I think when the card came out, I was trying hand druid with treants and the mountain giants. I think such a concept will not work now, because just mages can just throw giants as well and then summon 2 of them with Conjurer's Calling, and Druid has lost Naturalize, obviously, so I think that's going to be tough. But I like the idea of just saying, okay, hey, we wanted to promote this copying style more, because I like the card a lot. Gloop Sprayer, I think it's a very fun card. It also makes your opponent think like, okay, which of these cards, is an actual threat if it gets duplicated by Gloop Sprayer. So yeah, I like it. Promoting this.
It's still a little expensive, but
it's
general concepts could be interesting with like eggs and things like old eggs. I don't know if there's new eggs that are probably worth it, but things that blow up into bigger things. I think this could be very, very interesting, because it would stay alive, right? You're generally not going to be killing stuff that turns into 7/7, like a 2/2 that turns into 7/7.
The thing is though, like, obviously you have some cards that even if they would be reduced by 2 mana, they would still be unplayable, right? But sometimes a card just tweaking 1 mana is just way too much, and it's immediately on top of the list. And I think such changes, or some are 1 mana, a bit further down we have card change with 2 mana. But
for sure.
Yeah, I think it's nice. Just you don't have to do much to just throw everybody off and see how everything will go down.
If at the very least it gets people to try this card more, I think that would be like successful, because I think people will come up with some interesting with this. The next thing that they changed was Mulch Muncher goes from a 10 mana 8/8 to a 9 mana 8/8, which I don't know. Does that make a huge difference? Like, I haven't played the Mulch Muncher, like Treant decks that much. Obviously, it's better. I mean, no question, it's better. But I'm wondering if it's like, it doesn't. I don't know if it changes whether people are going to play it or not very much.
I personally don't think so. Because Treants aren't really, I don't know, a viable strategy at the moment. Maybe with
maybe next expansion or something.
Yeah, or Soul of the Forest, right? You still, that's a card that's played in Token Druid, and if Token Druid gets good, gets better, this might see play, but it's still just a very dead draw in your opening hand as Token Druid because it's not doing anything for a while. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, you have to wait until 9 mana to get all this rush stuff, and you have to
I mean,
play other
Rush
things
is very strong, right? On an 8/8, but I don't know. I think other classes can do much stronger stuff before you reasonably have reduced the cost of this. We'll see. We'll see.
Well,
I
the
think
Treant stuff isn't particularly strong either, so you're having to compromise your
exactly
deck to do it.
right. Yeah.
Okay, so next class is Hunter. Wow, so this one is
That's
I think it's really good. So Necro Mechanic is a 5 mana 3/6 that got buffed to a 4 mana 3/6. Your Death Rattle trigger twice. So I mean, any 4 mana 3/6 is good. Like, I mean, you don't even have to even read the mechanic. It's good. 4 mana 3/6.
We still have Shaw in the game, and Shaw is still a very good card.
Exactly. So this one it works pretty well with Hunter, the current Hunter right now one of the current Hunters that has Death Rattle in it. So there's a bunch of mechs and a bunch of Hunter cards. I can probably think of 3 or 4 that have very significant Death Rattles right now. So having it triggered twice, I mean, you're talking about killing 2 random minions, or like summoning 2. I mean, there's like very, very powerful effects from just playing this one time and having it happen one time.
Exactly, and as you said, right, this card, like Shaw, right, you have Yeti is obviously more attack, but you don't play these kind of cards or cards like Shaw for their damage immediately. You want to make your board threatening by having these on them, and these 6 health is a lot of health for a 4 mana minion, so it's this is dangerous, man.
This is more powerful than Shaw. This is like no question. This is more powerful because you can't really set up Shaw so much, right? Like Shaw, you get all the benefits of Shaw when you play with Shaw, or Shaw's on the board already. This you can set up the board and then get the value
play
of
this
the
card
mechanic.
trigger. Yes,
it's
exactly.
Extremely powerful. Yeah, I mean,
you still have cards like Firewords Tech, right? And those cards are just gonna.
That's already good.
There's gonna be a lot of experimenting with this.
Exactly. But this card, I don't even think experimenting. I can almost say that this card will be played, and it's just going to be added to the current Death Rattle Hunter. So it's just going to upgrade that deck. All right, the next thing for Hunter is Flark's Boomzooka, which is a legendary. It's the one that you summon 3 minions from your deck. They attack the enemy minions, and they die. They just do it all at once. It's kind of fun to watch when it happens. It's a
very cool animation,
Exactly. It goes from 8 mana to 7 mana.
I think I don't know. I don't think this is gonna make much of a difference yet because we don't have that many strong minions in play with Death Rattles yet. I mean, are you gonna play something like a Mechathune, or what are you gonna do?
Yeah, well, it's just like, would you rather control your minions that you have in your deck? Generally, you do, right? Generally, all these Hunter cards are very specifically played. Death Rattles or Battle Cries or whatnot. So. I mean, I see this maybe in some kind of big Hunter, this kind of crazy play where you just throw out a bunch of 8/8s and stuff and it starts doing good stuff, but nothing viable. I would be surprised if this becomes super viable in some way. So I don't think the 8 to 7 really changes too much with this card.
Yeah, I don't know. I like West for you too in chat is saying as well, Mechathune Hunter. I don't know, like if you want to pull that off, you'd have to play something like Galvanizer, Mechathune Hunter, then shuffle it back in, and then play Flark's Boomzooka or something. I don't know. I think it's maybe a bit unreliable. I don't.
It's still very situational. Like you have to have those exact things happen pretty well. But it is one thing. I mean, Mechathune.
It is. It
is one application of it. Yeah,
I'm a big Mechathune fan. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big Mechathune fan. I was rooting for Hockey Boys when he played 3 Mechathune decks at the playoffs, right? So
that was funny. That was really funny. Okay, so moving on to Mage, we've got Unexpected Results, which is a 4 mana spell epic. It's the one where you summon 2 random 2-cost minions that have the spell damage associated with them. So now it's 3 mana instead of 4 mana. I mean, 3 mana for any 2/2 drops is pretty good. Like
I think this card is insane.
You don't even have to think about like whatever those spell damage cards are. You get 2/2 drops. That's great. Like super good.
3 mana summon 2 drops. That's really good.
Yeah. So
I don't know, man.
this card's gonna
I
get
think
played.
this is dangerous, dude.
This
Like,
card's gonna get played. They're like 100%.
yeah, this card's gonna get played.
Yeah. But when you thought it was, when you thought they got this one good card, they got some, like fireworks. I'm not quite sure 100%. Like I am with unexpected results. That Luna's Pocket Galaxy is going to 100% be played, but 100% is going to be experimented with a lot more, because now Luna Galaxy going from 7 mana, which is, by the way, Pocket Galaxy changes the cost of all your minions in your deck to 1. It goes not down to 6, it goes down to 5. It took a giant step down to 5, and I don't know. I'm thinking of just 1-drops, and you just conjure calling 1-drops. I mean, that's easy. Yeah. It's like, I mean, it's worth the 5 mana. Give up that tempo, and you get just giant turns after it. This is, thank goodness this is a legendary. We can only play one of them, because it would be stupid good.
Let's see if I have an image. Like, I want to pull up something. Hang on, because it's with Luna's Pocket Galaxy. There we go.
Okay.
I think this is it.
You can post in chat.
Yeah, no, there's an image. Oh man, can I not? Okay, let me see. If I give it to you in Discord, can you then put it up on stream? Okay. Yeah. So it's the right part of this image, because when the Boomsday launched, I asked a couple of pros like, "Hey, what decks are you gonna play?" Right, for an article on Inven, and Zalay pulled up the right deck with Luna's Pocket Galaxy, basically, and you reduce the costs of Antonidas. You play your Sorcerer's Apprentices, and you pop a spell, and then you just go off, right?
Infinite fireballs, basically, right?
Right.
Okay.
So
not infinite fireballs, but like two mana fireballs, probably.
Right. And then let's see what he said. To close the game, use 1 mana Archmage Antonidas, 2 Sorcerer's Apprentices, and 2 Molten Reflections for infinite fireballs. Molten Reflection. Yeah, we don't have Molten Reflection anymore, right?
No, I think Molten Reflection got retired, thankfully. That would be pretty disgusting.
I know, but a combo. Yeah, that was the Ungoro card I see here. But I think something like that is exactly what Luna's Pocket Galaxy was meant to do from the beginning. Yeah. When I saw the card, I was like, damn, I'm not sure if this card's gonna be good, but if it's gonna be good, it's gonna be in something broken, right?
Yeah.
By reducing it by 2 mana, that's so much. That's such a big reduction.
It's definitely going to tempt people to try it, and try to take a hit at turn 5. I mean, I think the best time to play Luna's Pocket Galaxy probably will be on turn 5, unless you have a lot of card drawing ability, right? Like, so you can draw in, play Luna and then draw into it. But I anticipate some creative pro coming up with probably APX Void or something like that coming up.
Yeah, probably APX Void, cool. Somebody like Dog or something who always are very creative with these kind of things. So
yeah, this is one of these high profile changes, to a card like that.
It's like, okay, it's probably powerful, but I have no idea how to make it.
Not subtle at all, for sure.
No.
Okay, let's go to Paladin now. We got a 2 mana Crystology rare, the 2 mana card. Draw 2 1-attack minions from your deck. It's kind of similar to the Mage one, except for we're talking about 1 mana, 1-attack minions instead. And the Crystology now is 1 mana, and you get draw 2 1-attack minions from your deck. So that's pretty good.
The only thing that matters is it says 1 mana, draw 2 cards. That's how. 1 attack. Damn.
I mean, there's a lot of 1-attacks that are not 1-drops, right? Like they're 1-attacks because they're powerful in a different way. So yeah, draw 2 cards. It's definitely good for any type of OTK type of Paladin too. In any kind of deck where you're just trying to draw through your entire deck, this is going to be
exactly
good, for it. So good.
Man,
that's a good one.
And I saw a tweet by Killer, right? It was like Crystology was already played and pretty okay at 2 mana. At 1 mana, what is it gonna do? Because it's crazy, man. Yeah, I like it. I think because Paladin now it's just, you saw Mech Paladin didn't see much play, and other ways of Paladin kind of in some tournaments that were still playing for Conquest and last year standing for Matthieisson, you sometimes saw an OTK Paladin or a Mech Paladin, but in specialists obviously it's trumped by Rogue and Warriors, but yeah. This should bump, well, even more so the buff we're going to next. That's a card.
Yeah. So Glowstone Technician, 6 mana, 3/4, give all minions in your hand +2/+2, is now 5 mana. Same thing. Gives all minions in your hand +2, and it's a 3/4. Just
Man.
Pretty solid. Pretty solid. Yeah, I mean, obviously the hit is just playing a 3/4 on 5, but we just talked about playing. We just talked about playing nothing on 5 with Luna's Galaxy.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we're talking about at least throwing something on the board here, and then a +2/+2 to, I mean, whatever it is, Zilliax.
Even if it's just 1 minion, it's a 5 mana 5/6, right? Essentially what you're playing. So
Shrivala, somebody just said Shrivala. That'd be nice to have a 9/7 Shrivala. This one I think will be played. It'll be interesting to see if it actually makes the cut. This one's for me. I'm not sure it's a no-brainer unless there's a new paladin that just comes out of this. But the current existing ones, because this is not an OTK thing for sure. This is definitely more of a mid-range aggressive. I would think type of.
Exactly. I think the thing is, right, this card you couldn't play it reasonably because there were decks like Rogue that had too much pressure on the board, and Rogue's just being hit hard by the nerfs now. So I think there's room, there might be room for cards like these for slower meta, or at least like for Rogue to go back to the shadows where it belongs, and then for cards that for more mid-range decks to pop up, right, to counter all the tempo that Rogue had.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even talk about the nerfs actually. So
no.
We haven't talked about the nerfs on the show at all. Yeah, so we should probably touch on those at some point as well.
We can after all the buffs, I guess.
Yeah, we'll save them for the end. We'll touch on them. But okay, so continue on to Priest. We've got extra arms is 2 mana now, and this is actually what I originally thought it would be anyways. So it's like 3 mana extra arms. This gives you a +2/+2 to whatever minions, but then you get another card that's basically more arms for +2. It's the same card. It's like a twin spell basically.
Yeah.
So now
you see that a lot, right?
Yeah.
That they're testing with mechanics one expansion before and then introduce it as a mechanic. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. So pretty solid too. I think it's definitely good for I think priests that either can benefit from casting a lot of spells, because again, this is like a twin spell for the most part, and I don't know if I can think of the minion strategy quite yet for Priest. Priest's resurrect strategy is just still too good, or OTK or whatever. Like those two things.
But it makes card like Zarek, for example, more viable, right? Because Zarek, the 6 mana 5/5, if you played any spells on this card, then resurrect it. Very subject to silence still, but it does set up at least a way for the strategy to become viable, maybe with more support in the future.
Yeah. Somebody's asking about more arms. I believe more arms is also 2.
Yeah, it's also 2. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the next one's Cloning Device. This is 2 mana, discover a copy of a minion in your opponent's deck. Now it's 1. So
so it's a better mind fishing.
Yeah, it's better mind fish. It's worth it. I think it's one of these decks where if it benefits from if it's Auctioneer or whatever it is, benefits from like casting spells, then this is something that could be played.
I mean, we had the Dragonite Operative, the 5 mana 5/6. If you have a dragon, discover a copy of a card in your opponent's deck or a minion in your opponent's deck, right?
Which is always a dragon at the time.
Which is
like
Dragon Priest versus Dragon Priest.
Exactly.
So it was always a dragon, right? So I think, I don't know, maybe in something like Nomi Priest, this is just a 1 mana card, so you can use it to cycle.
You could get Boom, you could get Haga, but you could definitely turn into
right.
It's just
I think in Nomi Priest it can be a way to generate more value. So Yeah,
True.
I can see it being.
Nomi Priest, man. Nomi Priest is like junkyard, man. It's a little bit of everything these days. It's just like, you can have any kind of priest, just throw in a Nomi.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's pretty much
exactly.
what
Yeah.
it is these
If there's an
days.
auctioneer in it and a Nomi, then it's Nomi
Yeah,
Priest.
that's the one issue I have naming wise. It's like when you name it Nomi Priest, that really doesn't tell you much.
Mhm.
Like,
I mean, the thing is, right? We call the rogue, we call it tempo rogue when
Right.
it's like for I think like 80% it's miracle rogue and just a couple of pirates or something. I don't know,
True.
but we'll see.
Okay, speaking of rogue, moving on to rogue. Oh man, Pogo Hopper goes from 2 to 1. So Pogo Hopper gains +2/+2 for each Pogo Hopper you played this game. It starts with a 1/1. Dude, like this is
Why?
this is going to be like, I mean, you're gonna be able, because you can play a bunch of these. Like we know you can copy these things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they're 1, you can play a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't make much of a difference, right? With Shadow Step or Waggle Pick, the cost is still 0, but
Sure.
just soloing them or what's it? Is Zola still in the game? No, it's not. It's rotated.
No, it's not.
Damn,
Actually, that's true.
I mean,
We did lose a bunch of things that were very,
Yeah.
very.
But we have Talk Waggle Scheme. We still have Myra's Unstable Element, so you just draw your entire deck, shovel in Pogos, and the next turns you only have Pogos. Yeah, it's.
We don't have a Lyra either, so it's a little bit, I guess, a little bit better. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. I mean, we do have things that shuffle copies, like multiple copies of these into the deck, so they will get big. I mean, Pogo Hopper, it's kind of fun to see it happen, because it's not like guaranteed or anything like that, but it's just, man, it was already borderline decent, like, and then now this is like, wow, this is really good. I mean, you're gonna pull it off like more times than not. So, more times than you were when it was 2. So like pull off the crazy giant Pogo Hopper, 14/14 or whatever.
Right.
Or not 14,
I'm just, I'm a big Bunny Hopper fan, so I'm excited about the Pogo Hopper.
Of course. All right, moving on to no, it's just still rogue. Violet Haze. It's add 2 random death rattle cards to your hand. It goes from 3 to 2.
Yeah.
Any good
Death
death
Rattle
rattle cards outside
Death Rattle Rogue was a very fringe deck, I think. Like in, was it December last year? Yeah. Well, you had with the 4-mana 2/4 that summons a 1/1 poisonous minion with Rush, and the let's see, you also had the eggs you could pop with Death Rattle, but I don't know, Death Rattle Rogue, it's still too far off being viable, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that rogues generally, I mean, outside of the lackeys, right? They generally want the cards they have in their deck. They don't necessarily need like random cards, and if they can get random death rattles, maybe of the same rogue cards, maybe you can figure something out. But generally, rogue doesn't need card draw right now, or maybe it does after the buff. But I don't really tend to think of it that way. This is a good just general value card that I don't know they necessarily need though.
Maybe another one of those cards is like, okay, you cannot just try to get every you with buffs like these, right? You cannot just attempt to give every class like 2 new viable strategies entirely. You're just gonna make some buffs that are like, okay, this class is pretty strong already. We're just gonna buff a card that in a fringe situation might help a player out better than it did before.
Right. Yeah, this is worse. This is worse than Arcane Intellect. Even if it's cheaper, right? It's random too. It's not like Discover. It's actually 2 random cards.
Yep.
So
yeah.
That could be really bad. Shaman Stormbringer. So this is fun card. One of the funnest cards I think from that new cards. I think it's new, right? Yeah, it's new. No, is it new?
Stormbringer?
Is that from this expansion? Or
Boomsday, man.
Yeah, it's Boomsday. Yeah. God, getting it all mixed up. So Stormbringer, 7 mana, transform your minions into random legendary minions. It goes to 6 now. So, pretty cool. It's I don't know if it's going to what's a card where you end up drawing it. Nobody puts this in their deck. People end up getting this card in some other way, whether it's from the Hagatha, the guy, right? The guy that gets 2 abilities. Or right, that's about the only way people get Stormbringer these days.
Right.
So I can't see putting this in my deck just because.
I mean, like you also have a Thunderhead buff coming up next. Maybe you want to do something with like creating 1/1 sparks and then playing this next turn, but
maybe
I don't
zap
know.
into it or something. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
because that's 10 mana, Stormbringer and then Thunderhead. Yeah, I'm not sure that's going to do much for people playing.
I mean, that would be the only way I could see it work, right? But yeah.
But speaking of Thunderhead,
boy.
it was already good. 4 mana, 3/5. This is the one that summons 1/1 sparks that rush on Overload.
Right. We just talked about how good 4 mana.
We just talked about 3/6, and now a shaman has a 3/6. I mean, every freaking class is gonna have a 3/6 by the end of the year. So,
mages have water elemental. Druids have the 3/6 with taunt, I guess. So hunters have Shaw. So yeah, they're getting there.
This one's a good one too. They're buffing a good card already.
Yeah, this is a good card. Yeah.
We'll just see this a lot more. Almost positive we'll see this a lot.
Yeah. The thing is right with Thunderhead, is it enough to get Shaman there? I don't know, but if not, it just takes one extra push in maybe a next expansion, just one overload card, for example, or one small buff card, and
we need 4 mana 7/7 again, dude.
Yeah.
Or 2 mana 3/4. I mean, one of them, right? Like
I mean, mages are playing 3 mana 8/8, so I don't know, man.
I mean, that's not even good enough, man. Crazy.
Yeah.
Warlock, Spirit Bomb to 1 mana. So from 2 mana, it basically does 4 damage to a minion and your hero. Now it's 1 mana, so it's like a Soulfire that instead of dropping a card, you just do damage, which sounds like a deal to me. Like that sounds like a great deal to me. So good card, really good card, actually.
I think I don't know, maybe because
imagine this in Arena. It's a crazy good card.
Oh, in Arena, it's insane, absolutely. Insane. But I'm just thinking, okay, so what kind of ways does Warlock now have to abuse the fact that you dealt damage to your own hero? I think there's one card that says if you
don't have to think about it like that. I mean, it could just be straight Zoo. This is great in Zoo. Just remove something of theirs, like a baton or whatever, and just start continuing phase. I mean,
okay.
Instead of Spirit, I mean, literally, you can't hit face though, like unlike Soulfire.
No.
But and that usually is a big deal. Actually, watching the World Championships, Soulfire to the face was a pretty big deal.
Yeah. That was a useful card. Yeah. No, but I'm just thinking like when Spellstones were still around, obviously this would have been absolutely nuts. Yeah. But I'm not too sure. I think Warlock still in Zoo, it's too much. It has to rely too much on the tokens at the moment to allow. And the burst you said, right? Soulfire face is just so good to cheat past taunts and stuff. I don't know if this does an equally as good job. It's at 1 mana deal 4 damage. Don't get me wrong, it's very good. Yeah. It's really good, right?
I mean,
but we'll see.
If it could kill a taunt, right? If the taunt that was very, very prevalent was 4 health or less, then this is better than Soulfire. But I don't.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if it is or not, but I definitely can see it working in that type of deck, though.
Okay.
Dr. Morrigan, legendary, 8 mana 5/5, and this one's another big drop. 6
That's
mana
a big drop. Yeah.
So this one, you guys don't remember, is Death Rattle. Swap this with a minion from your deck. So obviously has a lot of deck building implications here. You kind of dangerous to build just around one card like a Morrigan, given that it's not really a crazy huge card here, but there's some interesting elements for it to be cheaper, that's for sure.
Definitely. I think there's another card, right? When it was released, everybody was like, why would I play an 8 mana 5/5 that swaps with some random main in my deck? Why would I ever do that? Why would I not want control over which main I play and get some from my deck, right?
Yeah.
At 6 mana 5/5, maybe there's some interactions, because you have more mana to spend for combos, right? So maybe there's something there. We'll see. Like, maybe there's some infinite combo you can pull off now with the Baleful Banker reliably or something.
Even if there is, that sounds very gimmicky to me.
It does, yeah.
Like in theory, it's like, okay, well, Death Rattle, when it dies, it's probably going to get as long as you build a deck where it gets more than 2/2, right? Like you're like a minion that's 2/2, it's going to be worth 6 mana. But I don't know. These days, you got to have something that's going to return something much larger than that. And
Right.
yeah,
Right.
because it is replayable, but you're probably not going to get this to happen more than 2 times a game on average.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. It's a cool. I like how it's designed though. I definitely like how the design of.
Oh yeah, it's just one of those effects that you're like, okay, it's one of those effects, like Dr. Morgan's one of those effects that makes you think different about how you approach Hearthstone as a game. It's like, okay, wait, why would I want this? And you just evaluate all the minions that you have available in your collection in a different way. It's like, wait, but in what way could I make this work? And that's what I love when those card designs are just they have those kind of card designs. Like, wait, this is weird, but how could I make this work? That's what I love about card games, man.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so next thing is last class here is warrior.
Right.
So this is what I was alluding to earlier when I said like Dr. Boom and Omega Assembly got buffs, because both these cards were mechs and they both got buffed. So Security Rover, a card that nobody plays, like nobody actually includes in their deck. They always get it from like Omega Assembly or from the Hero Power from Dr. Boom. It goes from a 2/5, a 6 mana 2/5, and this is the one where it takes damage. You get a 2/3 mech taunt. It goes for 2/6 now, so very, very likely you'll get 1 or 2 guys from this thing. Like super likely you'll get at least. I mean, you'll at least get 1. There's like not very many ways to kill this thing, like straight up.
No. Yeah.
So super good. Not much to say about it. It's just even better than it was before. Just by
I think when it is a 2. So the thing is, right, with mechs in current warrior, it's always like, okay, so every mech, as soon as you've played Dr. Boom, every mech gets better. Any mech just gets better. And within the skill of all those mechs, this was definitely on the lower side, right? Because mechs in general that you got were insane with Dr. Boom, because they're all like had high attack, so with the rush could take out something immediately. But now it's a little sturdier. You can fend off a bit more damage in a way, right? So I don't know. Yeah, it got better, and I already don't understand why they would even buff this card.
I know.
Let's talk about the next one.
Yeah, so Beryllium Nullifier. This is a 7 mana 3/8 that can be targeted, and it's magnetic as well, and it's a mech.
Right.
Now it's a 4/8, and that doesn't.
I think you need to scroll down a bit for the screen to see. Yeah.
It doesn't sound like much, but like 4 damage is actually a big deal. Like as dumb as it sounds. I mean, as like little as it sounds. There's a very big difference between 4, especially when you're buffing things like they have 1 attack or they have like very low attack. The extra attack on that will probably put it over a lot of thresholds against like very common cards. Because one thing I did notice about Beryllium Nullifier is that I was always like one attack short many times whenever I would magnetic it, and so I think the 4 is going to make a difference that people aren't going to realize. Like they're not going to really realize it until in practice they do it, because I think that 5, for instance, a 5 attack on a 1/1, right? Like a 1/1 that you end up like putting a 4/8 on is going to kill almost anything. Like that's very common. Right?
It's even simple cards, right? If this you can play this immediately on an Eternium Rover, it just has 5 attack now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just 5 attack instead of 4, and just what you said, like 1 attack can be so much of a difference. 3 attack is usually like, okay, you can make a nice bump into some minions' health. 4 is obviously, the more damage you do, the more likely it is to kill something. But generally, 4 attack is already just like, okay, this is half of a minion's health at least, right?
Yeah.
It's really good, and just now as a standalone card, you get this. You don't even have the need to have the magnetic effect immediately. It's just a 7 mana 4/8 with rush.
Right.
That cannot be targeted by spells or hero powers.
Think about some of the cards that were, really powerful for Rogue at the time. I mean, I know their matchups is a different thing, but Rogue stuck around because of 5 health minions. And things like that, right? So 5 and 6. I mean, if you can clear 5, if you can get to 6, you kill everything. You literally kill everything that's powerful. All the 3/6s and all that. You kill them all. So This is going to be a big deal, I think, for a lot of people. It's not. It's not good enough to play. Like nobody's going to actually put this in their deck.
No. But again, with the Omega Assembly and stuff, this is just the discard. Like what we said about Security Rover, obviously it jumped up a bit, but I think this card jumped up like quite a bit in on the grid of mechs you can get.
Yeah, I think so too. And what's funny is, like I said, neither of these cards get played, so. This is literally a buff to Omega Assembly. Like it's just so funny.
They buff 4 warrior cards. Actually.
And Dr. Boom hero power. Like literally
so that's what I mean. Like they buff Dr. Boom as well. So good,
funny.
Amazing.
Like that's really the class we needed to buff, guys. Like seriously. Oh man. I forgot to mention that we didn't get a chance to talk about the rogue nerfs.
And Luciana, I guess.
Yeah, Luciana is a big one. Okay, so let me just bring it up.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
While we're at it, right?
Yeah. Are these the originals? No, these are.
I don't know, man. But I know that's not Inven Global.
Yeah, actually. So link me yours.
No, it's fine.
No, I don't think that showed the actual change. Let me.
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah. Let me find it. My bad, guys. I wasn't, for some reason I wasn't thinking about talking about the Nerf rogue, which is kind of crazy.
I mean, if you see 18 cards buffed, you completely forget about just 4 cards being nerfed, right?
Here's Tom's. Okay.
There we go.
So here we go. Now we see the nerfs. So we've got Evil Miscreant, arguably one of the best cards. I mean, I think everybody would agree with that. I mean, there's a lot of really top tier cards in
right
at the time. So this is definitely one of them, just because it's a 1/5. It was always sticky. I mean, people would put Cold Blood and I mean all kinds of things on this card just because it would stick around, and not to mention you would get the 2 lackeys in your hand, which were amazing. And just using this as a way to draw cards. So they're lowering that to 1/4, which is pretty big deal. It's definitely way less sticky, now that it's at 4.
Definitely, absolutely. And I think, obviously you would like maybe on turn 4 or like turn 3, you could coin this, and then you get the Goblin Lackey that gives your this one attack more and rush, and then you have a 3-minute 2/5 with rush on the board suddenly, and it sticks around, man. 5 health is a lot of health for a 3-mana card.
Yeah, in the first 4 turns, like it's not easy to remember 5 card. Hitting it twice. Right?
No, and then you just shadow step and you play it again, and you play it again, and you play it again,
and they just fill their hand with cards that.
Yeah, I like the buff. I think it's still a powerful card because the leggies are just very good, right? And you can bounce it back and replay it for not that much, but you lose a lot of tempo with just 1 health dropping, definitely.
People will still play this card though. Don't get us wrong, okay? Like people still play this card.
The card is still playable, but I think in the nerfs we have coming up next, is Rogue still playable, because this is gonna hit hard, man.
Yeah, Raiding Party goes from 3 mana to 4 mana. So this is like the card drawing, mechanism for one of the card drawing mechanisms for the deck, because it gets you pirates, whether it could be any green scan, it could be there's pretty good pirates in the deck, and this would also get you a weapon too. So it's definitely a hit, and it's a big hit too, because 3 mana was like arcane intellect plus you got a weapon. I mean, you literally would get 14 cards from this potentially. So 4, it's much more fair, that's for sure.
Definitely.
Will they play it anymore? That's a question. Like, will they still play this card?
I don't know, man, because it's. I think this is nerfed in combination with preparation, right? And then because you had
prep 0, they used a rating part for 0, right?
Yeah, so prep now reduces the cost of your next spell instead of by 2 instead of 3, and so you could just prep raiding party for 0, and then on turn 4 you could prep raiding party, then equip a weapon and play 2 Dread Corsairs. That's, you cycle 3 cards of your deck, you equip a 4 attack weapon, and you play a 6/6 essentially. That was insane. So the combined nerf is making this rogue deck so much weaker.
Yeah. It's good. Like it was they had to target. I mean, they basically targeted 3 of the most powerful cards, and there's still probably 2 or 3 powerful cards. In
Prep
there,
is still really good, man. It's like you still can eviscerate Cold Blood, those kind of things. It's obviously a slightly different strategy, but yeah, it's still very good in what Rogue's trying to accomplish.
Yeah, it's still good, but it's not broken.
Because a
good,
prep Myros is still a 3 mana draw, like fill your hand and play Nomi and
Yeah, it is. But an extra mana is probably one less thing it does. Like it's a pretty big deal.
Right. I mean, prep Fent now costs 1.
Yeah,
those kind of things.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So good nerfs. I mean, Rogue definitely needed a nerf. It was on ladder, and I think we were starting to see at some of the Masters tournaments. It was just Rogue mirrors all day long because it was just too good. Yeah.
And it wasn't. I've got to admit, I'm guilty. I loved playing Lecky Rogue. It was such a fun deck.
It is. I really like.
Yeah, but
face. Yeah.
If you've played it for a week, you've played it all, right? Because everybody was just jamming warriors and the rogues, and the mirror match is not that interesting.
No, it's just who draws better. That's literally.
Right. Yeah, I mean, most mirror matches, right? It's who draws better. But I think this emphasized it because you had like this very impactful cards. You could draw like Myra's or or the raiding parties. I think in the mirror match with this rogue deck that was emphasized. Which in a mirror match, I don't think the strategy required much planning. You didn't have to adapt much to what the other player had. It was just you execute your plan, go face, and if they haven't answered, okay, sure. Let's hope you draw. Let's hope you draw a bigger threat first, or you're just done, right? So.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. Okay, let's talk about Elysiana. So this is like a duh change. Like this should have been what it was in the beginning. Like I can't believe they didn't do that in the beginning. So archivist Elysiana goes from 8 mana to 9 mana, so that you can't bounce it anymore. With Baleful or Brew or just there's obviously a number of cards that can allow you to have more than one Elysiana. So making a 9 significantly. I mean, is there any other way to do it? Like I don't even know. I'll be outside of coin. Is there any other way to get multiple Elysianas?
No, I don't think so. Like maybe Shudderwalk. Yeah, I guess.
Shudderwalk. Well, Shudderwalk, you get the ability, right? The ability happens, but not another card to choose from. Yeah, not another card to choose from.
No. Yeah. No, the thing is though with Elysiana, I think many pros also immediately spotted this. I think increasing the cost of Elysiana is good. I don't think increasing it to 9 is good. I think it should have been increased to 10, maybe given a health point extra, because now you have a competitive format specialist that is very prone to mirror matches. And if you have a warrior mirror match, you're gonna absolutely have 2 players that have Elysiana as an option, right, for the control mirrors, and then it just boils down who gets the coin and who can play the coin and bounce back Elysiana immediately. And I think it may not be a viable strategy anymore because the card is now obviously like you cannot pull off the combo reliably anymore. But I think the risk they're taking, if it ever becomes a viable deck, right? If there's ever again a deck slow enough that Archivist Elysiana is a good option for maybe even a sideboard, then what you're doing with a competitive match is just making it all a coin flip, because the coin is going to be kept until Elysiana can be bounced back immediately.
So, I mean, the current meta is slow. The current warrior versus, like coin warrior, bomb warrior versus control warrior, or control, whatever it is, or control warrior versus control warrior, it is slow enough to keep coins the whole time. So, we're already there. It's
right, but no, yeah, but it's like with 9 mana, obviously, now what people are going to evaluate, okay, is the risk of having a 9 mana Elysiana which cannot immediately play, cannot immediately bounce back, does it outweigh maybe having a different value card, right? Which has more of an impact immediately or something, right? Because the meta is going to change a lot with Rogue gone as well, right? So
yeah, it is. So, but as long as warriors stay slow, and stay the way they are, then
right. But yeah, I think this all boils down to obviously what the meta is going to look like. But with Rogue significantly nerfed, you can see decks like, I don't know, like Token Druid or the Hunters rise up more, right? And Warriors not good against those.
But you could say that, like, if the meta changes in a way that that holding Elysiana for a long time is bad, that would have been bad even if it was 8. Like, you're not going to play Elysiana like super early either. So,
no. But what I'm saying is that, it's not ladder, but in a competitive format that emphasizes like finding a deck that's adaptable, and Elysiana is a card that's, you can shift in and out against very specific matches. If you're against a slower deck, Elysiana is a great card to generate more resources. Then it's a risk they're taking by making it 9 mana of making the mirror match then about a coin flip who can get the bounce back Elysiana immediately. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but I think the risk could have been avoided by just making it a 10 mana card and maybe increase stats a bit to compensate, right? Because now if ever such a scenario occurs, then immediately the integrity of the match can be thrown in the bin because you've literally made the matchup about a coin flip. I'm very glad they're addressing the card because as you said, this was I think the design of the card as it stands is still like I don't know.
Don't get me wrong, man. I totally agree with you. Okay, like I agree that it should be a 10 mana card, but what I'm trying to say is that I think this card will still be like, I still think that this card is going to play some havoc unless the speed. The meta of the decks in specialists are faster, because if we're still seeing control warrior versus control warrior, then people will still play Elysiana, and then you're right, the person with the coin will have a significant advantage over the other person, and it will be kind of stupid. And so I think they're hoping that threat is enough that people will just not want to go into that coin flip, and and they'll just like opt for something else like altogether. But there's just not that many things that are good against control warrior, that's worth going like that different direction. So I agree. I mean, if you think about it, it might make it worse like in some ways, you know what I mean? Like there is a scenario where this is actually worse for competitive at 9 than it was at 8. Like they should have just made it 10, made it 10. And I mean, people might still even consider sideboarding it even at 10. So it would have been fine.
It's just one of those cards that this is definitely a tech card. Like in every way, this is a tech card, and it's a very strong tech card. So might as well just I don't know, avoid all risk, in my opinion. But we'll see. Also, like in many nerfs in the past, the Blizzard development team have been very on point. Like obviously in the beginning, they sometimes just completely deleted the card from gameplay, Starving Buzzard or some commander. But like recently, the nerfs, like for example, Knife Juggler, right? That was such an elegant nerf, and they just hit it right. So they've been doing that more and more lately, and I just
I hope so. The fact that they even made Elysiana is concerning. Like
I agree. It's not a design I like, but
and it's good that they're recognizing that it needs to be changed. But God, I hope people.
I like Napoleon Dynamite's suggestion. Just make it 11 mana and just.
I wouldn't mind either. Just kill the card. I would be completely fine with.
Here's a question. So like, I also saw like, obviously these cards are getting nerfed, but some other cards are not touched. What do you think about, for example, Dr. Boom, Edwin Van Cleave, and Conjurer's Calling, for example, not being touched?
I mean, I think Conjurer's Calling is probably going to get even more, more blatant once if people play Pocket Galaxy. I think that would be just crazy disgusting if that there ends up being enough time for Pockets to become popular. But I'm okay with it existing, at least for now. It's still new. It's still pretty fresh. It's made Mage very fun and relevant, lately. So I'm okay with it still being around at least for a few months. In terms of Edwin, I personally don't have that much problems with Edwin. You know, I know a lot of people have wanted to nerf it for a long time because it's just been around forever. It's always been an all-in type of play for Rogue, and people think it sucks. You know, like when Rogues make that play, but I like it. I mean, like that type of decision where it's just like, oh, I'm just gonna go all in right now. Like I'm just gonna spend all my cards and just like throw in a big one, and if you got it, you got it. And in terms of the meta, it's always counterable. You just run silence. Like you can always counter Edwin Van Cleave. So I don't have a problem with them not nerfing that card. And then what was the last one? Your last one was what was the last one?
The Dr. Boom. Dr. Boom.
Oh, Dr. Boom. I mean, the only thing I would nerf with Dr. Boom is just not make all the mechs rush. Like, I think that would be, you know, it would still be in the
right.
I'd have that feeling of a cool, you know, hero power and fun card, and you know, it just might not be as viable. But the rushing mech is what makes everything broken. I mean, you made minions removal spells. That's what you did. So they have a full hand of removal, and that's why Control Warrior is so good.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, I can definitely see your point about Edwin is like that being that risk of going all in. So I hadn't considered this, like that you have a card that's like, okay, I'm just gonna play my cards, fingers crossed, and you know, let's go, baby. And I can see that point. I hadn't thought about it that way. Thing is though, Edwin, you know, it's been around for so long. And in every rogue deck, there's been an Edwin. So I don't know.
That's the biggest argument. I mean, that's the biggest argument. That's just we've just seen it a lot, and if that's the decision that's made, then I can understand that. But in terms of the power and how it's designed, I'm completely fine with Edwin.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then what you said about Dr. Boom.
Yeah.
The Max Rush. That's obviously the crazy part, but. What I would do personally is just make the battle cry, give all mechs in your hand at that moment. Like battle cry, give the mechs in your hand, rush. Right? So you have to plan accordingly. Okay, which mechs in my hand do I want to give rush? And only those mechs that you have in your hand at the time of playing Dr. Boom get rush. Right? So you get a little of the flavor still, and then you have to consider like, okay, when do I play Dr. Boom? Are these mechs good enough for me? You know, to invest 7 mana to do nothing essentially, and then take it back with the rushed minions. Because I think, permanent rush, it's just...
I mean, just think about it, right? Just think about it from a design standpoint. None of the heroes have had a third attribute, like a third value attribute. You know, like Dr. Boom does. Dr. Boom has the 7 armor. They get, you know, a really cool hero power, arguably the best hero power. And then they get like an amazing third value, which is
amazing.
Incredible. Yeah. I mean, it's like giving Hunter Beast Rush. You know, like that's crazy.
I mean, Mage has kind of had like the armor, the hero power, obviously, and the lifesteal on elementals, I guess. But this is so much better. Sure. This is so much better.
Yeah, I mean, this is the million. I mean, yeah, it's so sure. Yeah, you're right about Jaina. You know, and that's why Jaina's thing was so crazy powerful. So I think I wouldn't mind it if it was just like buff all the mechs you have on the board. You know, like buff their health or buff their attack, something like that.
Yeah,
that'd be
something
fine.
like that.
Yeah, then maybe people would build a faster mech deck. You know, like that could be interesting.
But, right. Just tone it down a little because this is just because rush.
It's boring too. Like let's just be honest. Like watching. We're about, you know, this kind of segues into Grandmaster talk on the first week a little bit. You know, one of the things about Grandmaster this first week, and by the way, guys, like I enjoyed watching it the first week. So I'm just kind of talking about just the
meta, right?
The meta more than anything else.
Yeah.
But the meta was like, you know, I think 80 or 90% of the decks that were played in Grandmaster were Warrior. And, you know, a lot of the games, it was very much Luciano. You know, we were talking about Luciano a second ago, was a huge factor in most of these games. And then, you know, obviously all Dr. Boom and Mechs and things like that were just huge factors in you know, just removal and what people not playing things, you know, and taking that into account. So, you know, it's just too powerful. Like there's no reason why the pros, you know, won't play that warrior because it's just so good. I mean, you're going to still have a decent amount of health. You know, health is always a little bit RNG, but you're still going to do pretty well there. The bomb element, is just another route, but the bomb warrior is super good as well.
Yeah.
So, I don't think it even needs that. Like, it needs some kind of weakness, right? And that, I think that would leave an opening that it can't remove everything.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. It's Warriors, man.
Yeah. I mean, they need to tone down Warrior right now.
Yeah.
And...
Like I legitimately I crafted Golden Doctor Boom, Mad Genius on day one. After I had opened all my packs, of course, because maybe I would get it, and then I wouldn't need to craft such a cool card. But yeah, and I've had so much fun playing it, and I've just I've won like 2 or 3 times by discovering Mechathune from the hero power and making sure I won through Mechathune.
Right.
Yeah. And that's just
every time I get Mechathune, I like from that kind of thing, I never end up like triggering the. I just play it. No. I just play it super.
I mean, it's a 10 out of 10 time with Rush, man. It's insane.
I mean, when you add Rush to it, it's just like it's crazy good. Like
it's insane.
Yeah, it's just a tempo play. So,
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
It needs to be changed.
I think it's something that a bit after the introduction of the Rise of Shadows expansion, people were like, yeah, the only classes that are still good, that are good at the moment, are the ones with hero cards, because you have Suljin still in Hunter, which can replay all your secrets and stuff, and the twin spell, the 6-minute twin spell. But the meta has settled down now, so that's not as relevant, because it's just Warriors death or a hero card that's just really good.
Well, it's funny because like Hunter's crazy good right now on ladder, and nobody really complains about Hunter as much. It's really funny,
but I think because I think that the problematic card in Hunter is Master's Call, but
yeah, sure.
Yeah,
but I guess there's just not as many problematic cards in the class, so people are more accepting of it, and that sort of thing.
And as well, like as you said earlier, none of the other hero cards have such an insane aura effect as Dr. Boom, right? Yeah. Suljin is just okay, you replay your spells, it's really powerful, but after that you're like, okay, I have a hero power that deals 2 damage and it's not doing much. Right. And Haggadon's effect is obviously just value generation. It's like, okay, battle cry 5 deal 3 damage to all minions on board, which is nice. And after that, you generate a lot of value, but there's no extra.
It's not oppressive. It definitely is not oppressive.
No.
Yeah. So there were 2 cards, or maybe 3 cards. There were 3 cards I was worried about when the reset and expansion happened, because I was like, this is going to, Hearthstone is going to be amazing, and this reset and this expansion. But then when I saw Lysiana, like me and Gar, Gar is just like, every single time I talk to Gar, he's just like complaining about Lysiana. but for sure we both felt, Lysiana, the moment we saw it would be a problem. And then, I knew Dr. Boom would just be just so much better than everything. And I personally thought Nomi was like potentially a stupid card, like for just to happen in the meta.
Or?
Yeah, no, just well, I thought it was just a kind of card that was just somebody could just throw in for miracle wins, right? So those are the 3 cards that I felt like needed something. And in the Nomi one, you can argue, some people like Nomi, but for me, it's just like it's a card that generates like insane value and you do nothing. Like you literally did nothing, and so it's just like a miracle card, hoping you win. But if they're fixing Lysiana, hopefully. But if they fix Dr. Boom, we could see a really, really low power, nice meta, like
healthy,
really good meta, and sure, Hunter's still going to be good, but there's ways to play Hunter, like to counter Hunter, like
absolutely,
there are definitely very explicit ways to counter Hunter, so. I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see Dr. Boom get it.
The team said that in the blog as well, right? They're not addressing Mage and Hunter because they think that those decks have ways to be countered. So that's I'm excited. I'm excited for it. For the Nerfs to see how they pan out until basically next week, and then we have the buff. So
yeah. I think the one thing about the Hunters and the Mages, they play at the same tempo. There are like big moments, but they're not too big. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like Conjurer's Calling is obviously great, but it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't like crazy like throw off the board, or
No.
oppress the board, or that sort of
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah.
I think that's something common that maybe they can pull from as well. We need
Mm-hmm.
control decks too, but I think Warrior's still good.
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
Warrior's still good even without that ability. It just might not be top tier. And the reason we're talking about all this, by the way, is because in the Grandmaster we saw a lot of mirror matches. We saw warriors. We saw different types of warriors. Like we saw control warriors. We saw bomb
Oh
warriors.
man, we saw
That
so many
Yeah, we
warriors.
saw a ton of
Oh,
warriors. Yeah, that's how I
yeah.
felt too when I watched it.
Yeah.
Saw some of it, but it was still like I think it's still enjoyable because it was the first week. Like
Mm,
watching this and watching the good players have to navigate it, and people that know these decks and know it. We can appreciate some of the plays that they're making, but every turn going down the rope. Like these are like 45-minute
yeah.
games. I mean,
Yeah.
at least 2 or 3 Elysianas in every one of
Yeah.
these games. It was,
Yeah.
it'd be a
It
bit
took
too
a toll.
much for 8
Yeah.
weeks. Like for sure, too much for 8 weeks.
Yeah. That's ironic, right? Because they made specialists so the matches would be quicker and viewers could tune in
It's
and out and
longer
see
than they
more
are.
action. And now it's just, oh man. I mean, that's was obvious. Like, I think it was pretty obvious from the beginning, right? That specialist was going to be very dependent, whether or not it was enjoyable, depending on the state of the meta. Because in Last Year Standing and Conquest, you could come out swinging with some fringe decks,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And
Like
specialist, it's just no. You have to play one of the top 3 decks most of the time, just to and with obviously with the sideboard variations to have a chance. And if those decks, if you can tweak a lot about those decks, then it's fun, right? But Control Warrior is just set in stone what the deck should look like. And Conjurer's Calling Mage. You have those 2 lists, right? One with Calegos and the high curve end, and the other one is more with cycling and Stargaze
I don't know. I think APX Void.
Luna.
I think APX Void has showed you that there's more to the mage class than
Yeah.
like I think when you talk to people who are actually specialists, like not these specialist formats stuff. Like
I know what you
actually
mean. Yeah,
specialists.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there
Who
are
know a class in and out. Yeah.
I mean, you realize that what's accepted as the best versions of it, even in the pro scene, the things that are accepted are really only like 85% discovered. Like they haven't really discovered. There's probably even better optimized versions of that. And I mean, APX Void, like he came up with mage decks that beat those conjuring decks. Like I think he has one that doesn't even play Khadgar. Like so it's really interesting. Like when you talk to people like that have played like thousands of games with the class. Versus just like hundreds. So
I got you. Yeah. So no, but my point was right originally that specialists like last weekend, it can be fun. But not if the meta is so set in stone that the deck you almost have to play to win is a control warrior, which for the first like 15 turns does the exact same thing every match.
Hero power pass.
Yeah, it's hero power play. I don't know, maybe one Eternium rover and see what it does, and
that's what us noobs do.
Go get him, buddy.
We play Eternium rovers on turn 1 like idiots. All the pros like save it when they can actually get decent amount of like 4 armor or whatever.
I know. Yeah, but so I think with the Nerfs, obviously, I hope next week of are we transitioning into the first week of Grandmaster?
Yeah, let's talk about it. So first week, what'd you think?
And I gotta say, like I think and Blizzard knows definitely. Maybe some viewers know as well that I'm a critical person, right? I like to say, okay,
right.
This was good, but come on, guys, let's make it perfect, right? But I have to say I was very, very impressed with Grandmaster's production and how it was executed all around. Back when it was announced, I remember writing a short tweet longer about, hey guys, listen, Grandmasters can be fun, but please live up to production standards that other tournaments have set with having all the casters in the studio, for example. Please, for God's sake, start showing players team banners because that was also an on and off situation at seasonal championships and playoffs, that sometimes they would show the banners of players' teams and sometimes they wouldn't. And please do that. And I gotta say, man, the studio looked crisp. Production looked crisp with all the decks showing, and you could even scan the QR code for a deck. And
that's right.
I don't know if anybody's using it, but it's cool to have, right? Why not, right?
Yeah.
So decks were being compared. It looked great, absolutely fantastic. I'm very impressed with the production level of Hearthstone Grandmasters.
Yeah, I agree. I think the production of it was definitely solid, well done. I mean, I definitely like the little additions too. I mean, showing the deck, that's like one of the biggest things I've been I've harped on for a good amount of time. Maybe probably even the last time you were on, is just like, dude, show the decks. Like show the decks either before or during, or just show the decks, because we need to know what we're seeing. Like I don't want to be guessing.
Yeah,
these magical cards just come out of their decks. Like that's not what we want to see as spectators. There's got to be some accessibility to it, right? So being able to see that, see like what kind of like their sideboard, like the 3 cards that they popped out, and just having that type of setup, and preparing for what we're about to see, I think was really nice. I think it's cool seeing, the just 2 people that we know. There's just the general concept of seeing that. One thing I thought I might get a little bit tired of is just like a little, just oversaturation, right? Just in terms of too much Hearthstone, from 4 weeks or whatever. But I have to say, it's been nice. It's been a pretty good pace, seeing a few matches each day, and it's I think Hearthstone's pretty slow, when outside of the weekends, like outside of seeing the same streams you see. So this has been nice, to know that you have this sometime during the week, and you can go and watch competitive, like actual high level Hearthstone,
right?
So that was another giant plus for me too.
What's something I like is that for me, I watch almost everything with Hearthstone competitively, so I'm watching regardless, right? But this type of format, like Grandmasters, it's like they're appealing more to fans who as I think Sam Braithwaite also said in interviews, was like, okay, so Hearthstone players watch streams to learn, right? To see, okay, what a pro is doing. I think this is a good way of doing that, because you can just see, when's my favorite pro playing or something, and you can tune in and you can tune out a bit. And also the way this is done is it's the entire weekend, and the regions follow up each other on stream. And you can just put it on screen, tap in and out of broadcast, see, hey, who's playing now, what decks are being played, and it's far more in that sense. It's not casual in the sense that it's not competitive, but it's far more viewer friendly, because you don't have to follow storylines of players for an entire tournament to get the sense of what's going on, because it's a league. You have just a week by week development, and if you miss a match, it's not a big deal, because next week they'll be back again, and you can see the scores. Even the same weekend they'll be back again, because they're playing 2 matches a week. So I think in that sense the pacing of the Grandmasters League is also very beneficial to viewership.
Yeah, I agree too. And the viewership has shown to be good. I mean, I think you were telling me the viewership when I was watching it, there was like almost 30,000 people watching, and you said it got up to like 45 at some point. So
the peak viewership, according to esports charts, who keeps track on not just Twitch but all streaming platforms, it shows that Hearthstone Grandmasters opening week had a peak viewership of over 46,000 viewers.
On Twitch or just everywhere?
I think that's just everywhere. Yeah.
Really? Oh, that might be kind of low then, if it's everywhere. Like China too. Like
no, I don't think China was tuning in. China doesn't watch this, I think. Let's see.
Okay.
If I can see
if it's just Twitch, that's solid. That's really good.
Mm-hmm. So, let's see what Twitch peak was for Grandmasters. So it's with all those stats are without Chinese viewers. So it's 46,000. Yeah, that's really solid, dude. Like those numbers, I think even the Winter Championship didn't even pull 46,000 viewers concurrently. I think it was at 35, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Like Summer Championships last year had a high amount, was like 65 or something. But Winter Championships, obviously, as the year progressed, viewership went down for seasonal championships as well.
It depends on who's in it too. Like
I guess. And so 46,000 is really good. Obviously, opening weekends and every opening weekend of any series or any game or any tournament are going to inflate the numbers a lot. But as what I also wrote when I wrote the news for these articles for these numbers is that for the coming weeks, I don't think they're going to lose many viewers because we have the Nerfs this week. Meta is going to be wildly different in Grandmasters this weekend. People are going to tune in definitely to see, okay, what's viable now.
Right.
And then 2 weeks later, we have those buffs and the meta is going to go absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
and everybody's going to play completely different things. So I think this is absolutely like the viewership for the Grandmasters, at least for the first 3 weeks, is going to be very solid. And then it will obviously still, it's going to test the specialist format a lot, man.
I think we're past the point where we need to test the specialist format. It's bad. Like I mean, I'm usually a very open-minded guy and willing to give things a chance, but specialist is bad, and there's it's very hard for you to argue outside of logistical reasons why it's better than why it's a good format. Because it's so anti Hearthstone, because it doesn't. There's no margin of error for the meta at all, and that's just really bad for the designers, and it pressures the designers to maybe make decisions that doesn't necessarily benefit the entire player base and things like that. And you fall into that. You fall into that kind of like conflict, which we've had many times in the past. So. The reason why last year standing in Conquest was so good is just because you had the diversity, right? Like you had the ability to ban, you had the strategic element of that, but you also just had the diversity of seeing more classes and forcing your player to play these other classes and not. Specialist doesn't do that. Like Specialist really it requires a perfect meta for it to be good, and we won't have perfect meta. Like maybe we have like the perfect meta for like 5% of the time, like something like that. Yeah. And so is there an environment where it could work? Yeah, maybe, but is it practical? No, not at all. And it's not realistic at all. So I know they're looking at it. They said like after Grandmasters they'll make a decision, like maybe going into the next season. But for me, it's no question. Like you need to change it, or else you're gonna hurt like all of this momentum you're generating right now with Grandmasters. Like you're just gonna kill it if you keep that same format. So change the format. Like literally, that's the one of the only things like I have an issue with right now in Hearthstone. It's just like that one thing, and it's a big thing. It's a huge thing. So if they change that,
it's pretty awesome. Pretty significant. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can't say I disagree. Like the specialist format. I have an article coming out later this week because I asked a couple of players who've played a lot of Grandmasters. I asked. Let's see, Dr. J and Sequinox and RDU. I asked them like, hey, so you've played Specialist now. What are your thoughts on it? What are the positive sides? What are the weaknesses? Because always have to look at it from both sides. What do the players think is good about it? What do they think can be improved? And if it can be improved, how would you do it? Right. So I have an article coming out later this week.
That's a tough question, actually.
Yeah, I know, but they gave good answers, right? Hearthstone players are very, obviously they can get emotional about the format on Twitter for like, oh man, I just got screwed over, screw specialist. But they gave very considerate answers as well. But I think, what you were saying is definitely true. It leaves no margin of error for error in the meta. It puts a lot of pressure on the developers because you're always going to have, like, here's what's going to happen with Specialists always. You're going to have one deck that's really good and just can do crazy, even in an unfavorable matchup, can just pull out a win with the right tech cards, right? And you're going to have the deck that's the best counter against that, right? Which is probably going to even be better because it can reliably beat the deck that's best on ladder, right? So what we see now is, we saw now is Rogue, right?
Yeah.
With Rogue, and Rogue is the deck that, okay, even in a fringe situation, when it's being beaten down, against warrior with the right tech cards, Nomi, Shadow Step, those cards that just if you draw your Myras and you have your Nomi, you can play a 7 mana 6/6 with a bunch of 6/6 on board, and even warriors cannot have an answer to it. And you have warrior, which is the class, okay, generally it beats rogue, and good luck bringing anything to beat me, because I'm just gonna remove everything.
Yeah, and I think that all those things you said are absolutely right. I think another thing too is just the general mindset and tendency of the pro scene right now is not to be risk takers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like they're not going to do, they're not going to take a huge chance on the meta and do what the world champion Roger. Like they're not going to do what Roger did at Taiwan. Like the majority of the people would never have done what Roger did, and Specialist needs an environment where there are a lot of risk takers. Like people that are willing to counter what's accepted as the best deck, and have a large enough population so that it really does disrupt the general mindset of just playing the best class and deck, because that's what the majority of the pros do right now. They play percentage Hearthstone and percentage Hearthstone analytics, whatever, like however you want to describe it, and that they all do that. And there's very, very few people that do it. And you'd think that those few people would take a chance, but they and be super successful. But I don't think we've had that guy quite yet. That's maybe like Roger, like takes a huge chance and is super good too. Like won't lose, even in just leading up to it in the Swiss rounds or whatever. So that's kind of how I look at how people are generally, how we're getting to this point as well. And it's going to keep happening because there's always going to be an accepted best deck, right? And it doesn't really play out in this triangle polarity thing very much in a specialist, because specialist is trying to prevent that, right? It's trying to prevent that by sideboarding.
Yes, so it's just polarizing like one deck and saying, okay, this is the deck to beat with its adaptations, and then there's one deck that can counter that in the best way possible.
Yeah. So the actual focus of what's special about the format, I think, is getting convoluted. You know what I mean? Like it's supposed to be about like how good are you at a class? Are you better than the other person at a class, or just like the best warrior in the world, that sort of thing, right? Instead of just the best Hearthstone player. And I think that at least if I'm trying to modify specialist, I would make it more of a true. If I'm going to try to stick with this, I would make it more of a real sideboard. Like let them have 10 card sideboards, let them
freely change.
Yeah, let them freely change, and then really emphasize in the production that this is about being the master warrior, not just winning, because that's not what it's about. Maybe reward the top classes. Give somebody a reason to play priest. I don't know, award somebody $10,000 for being the best priest player, or the person with the most wins with priest or shaman or whatever, But right now there is an inconsistency in just that in itself, So.
And I think what you said earlier is definitely true. It's like you said, when you have more classes in Last Hero Standing or in Conquest, it just feels more like Hearthstone, maybe because I've been covering this game for 4 years and that's all I know, all I've known up until now. But it's you get to see how players navigate and try to counter each other with different classes. It felt more like this clash of people who have brought an entire arsenal of weapons and try to outplay each other, rather than just, okay, I've one gun, and if I shoot you first, then we win, and then right? It's
Here's an outlandish, the crazy idea, right? But it would be more in line with what we're trying to accomplish. What if the champion of the season, of the year, was maybe we have 9 mini events, and each 9 mini events is it's a mirror, but whatever. But everybody plays a shaman. Everybody plays shaman in this one event. Everybody plays warrior in this one event, and we divide it up that way. And then it's just the champions are the ones that win, that basically finish the best in each 9 of these things. that
Right.
would be more of like a specialist thing. Is that better? I'm not saying that's necessarily better, but I'm saying
I don't
that's more
Yeah.
along the lines of like what specialists kind of
Yeah.
is just promoting, and
I still think up to now the tournament that had the best competitive format for like player versus player. So no team league thing, but player versus player format was the PGL Tavern chill. So what they had is just okay, you bring 9 classes and we have a pick and ban phase.
Yeah.
Obviously for broadcasts and for viewership, I understand it is a dreadfully long period. But
no, it's not. Like that's where that really really bothers me because everybody freaks out about that. And sure, like, does it require development? Does it require some like creative, from a producer and from a product standpoint, figuring out how to do that in a very, very realistic way, logistically? Yeah, it does. I mean, you could put a timer on it. You could put a timer on just pick bans, and just like people need to do it quickly. You can create an interface that actually just does it for you. Like it's just you just each player just goes up to it and just literally clicks on the things they want.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, like you can
the thing is, the whole point of what Blizzard is trying to do now is make Hearthstone more approachable, right?
Yeah.
And PGL, it can get complicated explaining why certain things were banned because as a caster, knowing why picks and bans happen, you need to be on the absolute highest level of Hearthstone to understand why it's happening. And
hey, how about just ask the player? Hey, why'd you ban that? He just tells you why he banned that. It's
players aren't always the most they're not always able to translate their thoughts to comprehensible sentences. Like even like when I talk to them for interviews or whatever, sometimes they just go on a rant detailing the in-depth of the play. Like, yeah, sure, but I have no idea what you're talking about. Can we just take a step back and evaluate it? So, but I mean that's the format I would love to see. That's like Hearthstone to me. You have the 9 classes. You pick and you ban. Like in every competitive game, you have picks and bans, right?
Yeah.
And that way you try to play your opponent. You see so many more different classes, and I guess you're right in what you're saying is that the production wise it's a bit not, you can work around it not to make it a dreadfully long period, right? To pick and ban phase.
You could create.
Right?
I mean, it takes some development in the beginning, but you can create a just a setup period, or just you could create technology to do this all for you, like very quickly. Have the interface for everybody that's easily clickable. But 2 players go to the same place in the very beginning. They pick and ban and there's a timer on the pick and bans. I mean, they do this in MOBAs.
Yeah.
I mean, they do this in League.
Yeah.
They do this in Dota.
Yeah.
It's accepted, and it can be even faster. Like we can make it even less time than those guys do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I get you. Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So.
But I think I think we both agree, and everybody who cares about competitive Hearthstone, at least for now, agrees that specialists after ideally now, but they're gonna. I understand why they want to revisit it after the LAN in Las Vegas. But what intrigued me about I think it was IGN who did one of the interviews with Sam Braithwaite, and he said there that we have a couple of competitive formats we want to try out. So I'm really curious.
Really?
What the other
Good.
So I'm really curious if it's just not going to be them tinkering at specialists, or if it's just going to be
just give our feedback, man. Like just ask us. Why don't you just ask some people and I don't know, just ask a wide range of people, right? Like I never got asked. You probably never got asked either by the esports.
No, I mean, but it doesn't mean I don't present my opinion.
Like why not? Why not? Like I mean, is it really that much better than the player? I find it a little. Sometimes I can understand why they do, and most players are actually very smart and they do give good feedback on it. But players' jobs are to use whatever format and structure, like game whatever format and structure the best they can to get the biggest advantage. So they're not the most objective people to ask.
Absolutely
no.
So but I think what Sam said, right, is that they occasionally send out surveys and they ask like, okay, why are you watching Hearthstone if you watch a Hearthstone stream or a tournament? And people apparently responded overwhelmingly that they are there to learn instead of watch to know who's the best Hearthstone player of the two in the match. So I think I definitely agree, or at least I think you'd agree with this, that Specialist is leaning far too heavily on making it appeal to newer players and throws competitiveness in, like, not in a bin completely, but come on, it's not a format designed for competition.
Yeah,
it's a show match format. It's a show match
you're
format.
Right, exactly. I mean, you're talking about two completely different buckets of content.
Right.
Esports. I don't watch LeBron James to learn how to play basketball, because I can't play basketball like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's, I watch it for entertainment, right? Like that's what I watch it for. So I'm not even sure that survey is, like the survey, like the answers you get to a question sometimes are really based on the questions you get asked, right? So like if you ask them, why do you watch, like, what do you like about watching Hearthstone? It's one thing. What do you like? But if you ask them something like, what do you like watching? What do you like about watching the World Championship? There's going to be different answers to like both of those questions, right? So,
yeah, sure.
And I think that, I don't know, I hope they're not extrapolating data from, like
yeah.
that type of response, because that, I mean, you can't make a competitive event into
No,
something that's just
no.
a learning experience. It's like,
I definitely agree with that. What I'm saying is they definitely, I trust that Blizzard analyzed a lot of data they gathered to make changes. I'm just saying that, I agree with you. They either asked the wrong questions and got data that they interpreted, but not they didn't use the right data, or they interpreted data that they did get and they just went overboard in a completely different direction. And
yeah. Well, if they're listening to the podcast this week, my door is open. If you want, I am happy to give you all my opinions for free.
Yeah. I mean,
because
I know the esports team knows that I publish my opinions anyway, so
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, last bit of news before we take off. Hearthstone Masters, announced some changes that are coming too, which is I think some people are very happy about, especially this list of players are very happy about. Yeah. So there's going to be fewer qualifiers moving forward, thank goodness, because there were just too many of these qualifiers that were going on. That was crazy. And instead of just like, I think awarding the winner, which are like, you basically had to win these things, which is like crazy. They actually allow for 2 invites now, from the Masters. And if you consistently place 2, if you can play 6 times in the top 8, you also qualify for the the tour event. So the one thing in Vegas, basically, at least in the US for the NA one. So a lot of people, got retroactively, they qualified, like these lists of people, which is really, really nice. Some names
28 players.
Yeah. Some names we recognize as well. So really, really good for them. But generally speaking, it sounds like, and this is kind of where they said they're taking a look at the specialist format as well. And after Vegas is over, though, if they going to make a decision, they'll make one at that time to change it or not. But this is good. Overall, what do you think about this?
I was very positively surprised by this. I think this is a relatively quick change. In time as well for the first LAN in Las Vegas. I think as I said, tightening it up. I think they absolutely listened to pros feedback that first of all, online cups were taking too long. Okay, we're making a single elimination as a way of mitigating, because single elimination can be harsh, right? They're doing top 2 invites instead of top 1. And as well, if you make, 6 top 8s in one Masters Tours qualifying season, then you also earn an invite. I think that's a great way of reducing the grind while improving actually the reward for consistency in the system. I think it's really good. I was very, and especially I think the retroactive invites are extremely classy move. I think that's it's very commendable. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
guys,
the retroactive thing is actually
I-
very huge. Like this is
Yeah.
something they probably would not have done in the past. So
yeah, probably
really,
not,
really
right? But
cool.
now it's like,
Yeah.
okay, hey, listen, guys, we messed up, and you were on the wrong side of that.
How many
here-
times have they screwed people like that before? You know, many times. So super good move by them to do that.
Mhm.
It's funny they picked 6. It's such a weird number, like 6 out of 6 times in the top 8.
I think they looked at like an average of the amount of open
Right.
cups people play, and then
Yeah, it's
something
obviously right to pick
Mhm.
a
the,
odd
th-
number.
the thing is, though, I think
Strange number.
I've not followed up on that story. Actually, I've not read the follow up on the story, but what they did do, however, is that the nerfs were announced right for today,
Yeah.
and there were also qualifiers today.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Which means that some people who would maybe play on their phone would not be able to continue
Oh,
playing on their
true,
phone
true.
because that would be an outdated
It
version.
doesn't come out at the same
And
time.
people in the middle of a tournament, their decks would be altered.
Yeah, that's unfortunately that's
So I've not read up how that continued. I'll probably do that sometime tomorrow. But that's then they make this change and it's, oh man, it's so amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. And then then a few days later it's like, yeah.
well, it's either that or they just canceled the event, right? So it's I don't I don't know if that's necessarily better, like
I mean, you can, like, I'm sure there's a slot available. You're reducing the amount of open cups anyway, right? So then you have spare slots that you originally planned in. You're like, okay, guys, listen, we don't want, we hope you understand, but it's not reasonable for us to ask you to play in the tournament where halfway through it, changes are
it
going to be
just changes.
implemented.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
hear you.
Epic Games, right? So
I hear you. All right. Well, we got one Q&A question. We'll wrap it up. Before we do, I just want to thank the patrons that support the show and are the main contributors. Just have been the main contributors for like the entirety of the show, or at least since we've had a Patreon. And I always want to take some time to thank them. So Raydan, Bruce W, Michael O, Two Comic Kid, Cameron M, Paul H, Aaron B, Michael V, Code, Chemist, Roger F, Richard M, and there's actually one I'm missing that I realized just now. Let me go find him. Sorry,
it's making it extra special.
Yeah,
mate.
this is for you. All right, like the person that I'm looking for, because I just realized that. What's kind of like tricky about Patreon, by the way, guys, and this is for everybody too, is that sometimes the payment methods get declined because credit cards expire and things like that. So I always have to ask people to just update their credit cards, and sometimes the emails are out of date. So Bryce L is who I'm talking about. So
there you go, Bryce L.
Yeah,
Special shout out.
Yeah, special shout out to Bryce L for for that. But anyways, thanks for all you guys, and there's more patrons. I just try to read out just some of them each and every week. If you want to support it, you really enjoy the show and what we're doing today, just go to patreon.com/valuetown and make a pledge. We really appreciate it. All right, one question. Ahmed, with the hype Vanilla WoW is having, we will see Vanilla Hearthstone as a game mode in a few years. Well, will we see Vanilla Hearthstone as a game mode in a few years?
I hope not. No. I hope not.
so.
No.
I mean, nothing's changed. I mean, barely anything's changed in terms of...
You can just play classic and basic, man. Go ahead, yeah.
You can kind of do that now, yeah, if you wanted to.
There was a Tavern Brawl, right, where you only had basic and classic cards, I think. There's a Tavern Brawl that does that, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but it wasn't it wasn't much of a thrill.
Popular. Yeah.
No, it's like, yeah, okay. So I've known every single one of these cards because at different times in the meta I've played them, and now I can only play them. They don't do special things because it's basic. It's yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. I've never been really much of a WoW player anyway. So
I mean, if you're talking about pre-nerf, then that's a different story.
I would like to see.
I would play my old combo hunter.
Yes. Exactly.
My combo hunter, I'd play that again.
Oh no! I mean, oh no! But can you imagine, like you have Hunter, Undertaker, and now the Mechs on it? Oh man!
You'd still lose the Hunter, I promise you.
You'd still lose too?
You'd still lose the Hunter. I think the Hunter could beat you in like I used to win it in 5 turns, like with that hunter.
No, but I'm saying Undertaker Hunter with the mechs now.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I still don't think
Really?
that's necessarily
Yeah?
better. Yeah, because dude, the combo hunter was so good back then. Like, I still
Uh,
get credit for making that deck, which is good. It was so stupid. It was like literally my average win was 7 turns, and because I could always draw for the win even if I didn't have it, like in my hand. You could always draw from the buzzer, right? Like you could draw like 5 cards and then just end up. It was disgusting. It was like stupid.
yeah,
Disgusting.
it was.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's some decks that I would really like to see
The
pre-nerfs. Like Warsome definitely.
Oh, God,
but just nice good old combo druid, man. That's a deck everybody loved, and Force of Nature Savage Roar. I think I miss that old buddy.
That's
you
not
just
abusive enough, man. That was just good. That was just really good.
I know,
so
but it's a deck I miss, Chris. Come on.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're not going to take too many questions. We went over by a lot today, so why don't we wrap up? Tom, always amazing. Celissa, oh, by the way,
Always amazing.
Celissa couldn't make it today because she got stuck in some F2K meetings. She was going to try to hop on the show between the meetings, but the meetings apparently just spanned over. So me and Tom having a good time just talking because we just like to talk so much.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. That's what you said in the beginning, right? There's more talking for us, and well, we talked for over 2 hours, so we definitely lived up to that. So
that's for sure. But any shout outs you want to do before we take off?
Oh man, well, I want to give a shout out to Hearthstone. First of all, the developers, because man, they've absolutely been acing it since Rise of Shadows release, especially with the card balance changes, with the buffs that are coming, with the single player content, the expansion overall. It's been a blast. So absolutely, Dave Kozak for you and the Adventure team. Definitely a special shout out to you guys because you absolutely knocked it out of the park with this one. And then I'm always giving the people at the Hearthstone esports team a tough time with critical articles and stuff, but one last shout out because I absolutely think you guys nailed the production on Grandmasters. There's obviously things that can be polished. We'll talk about specialists in a couple of months, but as somebody who's been covering Hearthstone for 4 years now, and who was skeptical about the how Grandmasters was going to be executed, I have to say the production level, it set the bar very high, and I'm very glad with that. So
yeah, absolutely. And I'll echo the same thing. I mean, thank you obviously for doing the show today. Thank you for the folks that are watching as well and listening. But yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of great things that the team has been doing. I mean, definitely a change. I mean, that's the one biggest thing, is that there is a change in the feel or just the atmosphere of the team, and we're seeing the changes happen. We're seeing changes happen faster. We're seeing things like, the retroactive thing on the Masters thing happening, like taking into account, like those things matter, man. Screwing people for as long as they have, by just, I mean, where they didn't have to, they could have just retroactively done stuff like that, in the past. I think just like spending the attention to detail and stuff like that has been, a big change and a huge positive thing, I think, for Hearthstone and the community. So there's a thread right now. Like if I go to this thread right now, there's the freaking thread that's like props to the Hearthstone team for recent changes. And it's got like 18, it's got like almost got 1900 points on it. I mean, says a lot, given that the Hearthstone community is usually like pitchforky. So
there's one more shout out. You just pulled up the front page of the Hearthstone subreddit. There's one more shout out. I want to give a shout out to my man bartender Bob. You dude, you bring peace into my heart, man. When I'm frustrated with Dungeon Run bosses, you show up, give me a nice beer, and we have a good time together. Thank you, thank you, Bob.
Oh man! On that note, I think that's going to be it, guys, for Value Town this week. You can find the VOD obviously on youtube.com/ChanmanV, and you can find all the audios on all the normal avenues: iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, SoundCloud.com/ChanmanV. But that's going to be it, guys, for this week. So for Tom Matthieison and myself, ChanmanV, we'll see you in 2 weeks.